Hello and welcome to Insights and Inspirations covering all things soul, body, and sex. My name is Monique Gomez, and I am your coach and teacher so that you can become spiritually embodied, learn about conscious sexuality, and awaken to the truth of who you are so you can live in your wholeness. Today, we are going to be talking about what is a pleasure practice and why it's important to have one. And also, we're going to cover 3 different pleasure practices that you can start today so that you can build your pleasure capacity. So, when you think about pleasure, do you think of training? Do you think of your pleasure capacity, how much pleasure you can really feel? Remember that you deserve a ton of pleasure. You are in a body that has 5 different senses experiencing the environment at all times, and they are all designed to let you feel and experience pleasure. So, your taste, your touch, your smell, your sight, your sound, all of these things are a way that we are interacting with our environment. And then, if you add in your imagination, which is a sense that I consider very useful in exploring your pleasure capacity. So, all of these senses are giving you the opportunity to explore your pleasure, right? However, most of us are not used to recognizing when we're experiencing pleasure. We're not aware of pleasure in our daily life, typically, because this world can be pretty tough at times, right? And we have all these experiences that have been painful or traumatic or stressful rather than pleasurable. So it's hard for us to actually see those things. But seeing those things and experiencing pleasure can change your mindset 100%. And then you start living in a whole new way. So let's see here. This is important because your brain is part of your pleasure practice. And your brain is also wired to experience pleasure. So, neuroplasticity is the science behind cultivating pleasure. Basically, the neurons in your brain are able to connect and grow. At one point, they thought once you reach a certain age, your brain just doesn't grow anymore. They have said, no, that does not exist anymore. They grow by what you practice over and over again, right? So, if you're practicing or if you're experiencing stress or you're experiencing negative emotions, that is where your brain, those pathways of your neurons are going to get stronger and stronger. So, a pleasure practice is basically being aware of the pleasure and taking action that will strengthen your ability to feel and experience more pleasure. Okay, so we're thinking of these neural pathways as like they need to get rebuilt inside the brain. And when you have them strong, there's more pleasure that your body is looking to experience, that your senses. So think of it like this. Right now, your pleasure pathways are like small country dirt roads, right? They exist, but they're sometimes hard to find. You can't travel as quickly on them. Sometimes they dead end or you get lost, and it's like, okay. When you create bigger neural pathways to experience pleasure, these dirt roads actually become like paved city roads. And then the more you do it, then they can become interstates or highways, right? So this means that you get to pleasure quicker, that you're ready to experience more pleasure in your daily life. Your brain is actually looking for pleasure because these pathways are a lot bigger and stronger. And so therefore, you get to have pleasure throughout your whole day and your whole mindset starts changing, right? So it's like part of this positive um, training in a sense. So it can transform your entire daily experience, not just your sexual world, because we want to remember that pleasure does not equal sex, or sex does not have to equal pleasure. I mean, we know that's true. So pleasure is found in all types of experiences, from feeling the sun on your skin, right? That feels so good. Or drinking a warm cup of tea on a snowy day, or feeling that soft touch from your beloved. Pleasure is all around if you're ready to pay attention to it. And remember, paying attention to it is how you build more capacity to experience pleasure. And then that can also trickle in to your sexual world, to your sensual world. So here are just 3 pleasure practices to get you started, okay? Because we want to take action. So the first pleasure practice, very simple. You can do this right now, sitting in your comfortable position. You can close your eyes if you're available to do that and find your breath. Okay. And I want you to place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And notice the warmth, notice your breath, notice your heartbeat. Feel the pleasure of your own heart and belly. Just feel it. That's all you have to do is notice. It can be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, bringing that attention into this space. That can be your pleasure practice. Do it multiple times throughout the day. Pretty easy, however, or pretty simple, but not always easy, right? So your pleasure practice number 2 is play with textures on your skin. So this can be anything from a silk scarf or a furry pillow or a furry sweater. That is why I wore my furry sweater today, because I want to remind you of your touch. Your skin is your biggest organ on your body, right? And so the sensation, what you put on your skin matters, and find pleasure in that. And then you can also play with different textures. So you can find like a hard bristled brush, or even something that might not be soft, right? And just feel, notice that texture. And this is something you can do with a partner as well, is have different textures of different things, and then put them on your skin, on your arm, on your back. Notice what the texture feels like and where you find pleasure. And then finally, another pleasure practice, very simple, you can start today, is our taste buds. Food can be it can bring a huge amount of pleasure into our world. And if you have a favorite food or something you're craving, that you delight in, can have a pleasure practice around it, because what you want to do is eat it with your full attention. So for example, I've been obsessed with coffee ice cream lately, with the coconut milk coffee ice cream. I love it. And so slowing down and eating and noticing as you eat each bite, what the taste is, what's happening in your mouth. What are you experiencing? The temperature, the flavor profile, and just take pleasure in it. Be so happy that you're giving your body this thing that it really, really delights in. So that is a way that you can bring all your attention into that pleasurable moment. And just remember that a pleasure practice is ultimately attention and play. So there's no right or wrong to do this. As long as you're bringing your attention and your intention to experience more pleasure and giving that genuine curiosity, your brain will do the rest. These neural pathways will start creating in ways that you didn't even think could be possible, right? Like, our brain is magnificent. So when you start noticing these seemingly daily, mundane kind of activities that will actually bring a sense of pleasure to your life, then you know that you're getting bigger and bigger in your pleasure capacity. Awesome. So with all of that info, I want you to have one pleasure practice that you are going to practice today. Commit to it. And then also, I would love for you to reflect on these questions. How do you find pleasure in your daily life? And which of your senses are you most tuned into for pleasure? Is it taste? Is it sound? Is it seeing? Is it feeling, like the touch? Just reflect on that. Let me know what your answer is in the comment box below, because I would love to hear what brings you pleasure right now. And then you can always head over to MoniqueGomez.com for more info on creating a spiritually embodied life that is related all to your soul, body, and sex. And also don't forget to sign up for my email list where I get to share more inspirations, freebies, and just overall genuine love and care to you that you don't get anywhere else. Thank you for staying with me for this week's Insights and Inspirations, and we will see you next week.